Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Post-Conference Presser for Anfield Index. It is Friday, the 3rd of October. We are on the verge of that last Premier League game before one of those crappy international breaks, which no one really likes. I fail to believe anyone really does, but maybe just the way things are going, it ain't the worst thing in the world, is it? And on Friday, the 3rd of October, Arne was back in his routine, wasn't he? He was there at the AXA, 9 a.m. I want to say sharp, but it was about 7 minutes past it. It started on the feed, answering questions as ever. And you know how we work on Post-Conference Presser. We'll walk through the Q&As. We'll talk about the lessons from Galatasaray. Yes, we must, I'm afraid. We'll look at Chelsea's threats and only having 26,000 players available with their injury crisis, and then the predicted lineup, scores and scorers. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from shitty Edinburgh, as in weather-wise at the moment. You know, when the rain's going sideways across the screen, it just feels like one of them ones where everyone's happy they're inside. And there you go, Mark, coming from rainy Devon. Maybe it's rainy everywhere in the world. Hopefully, there might be a bit of sun wherever you are. But you don't really care about that too much, do you, people? You care about what was said, what was revealed in this press conference. And let's get right into it now. And just almost I'm going to call it a footnote with the press conference. The mighty Mojo, Mo Stewart, shout out to him. I'm sure you all know him. Well-known Liverpool fan, well-known Liverpool social media contributor, did tweet this afterwards, which is quite interesting. The fact that I and a few others didn't get the chance to ask our questions and the whole thing was wrapped up in 30 minutes was telling. Slot felt happy to chat, but it's clear someone didn't want him answering too many questions right now. It's an interesting one, this, because, I mean, you could argue that he answered questions on fitness as ever. He answered questions on player-wise, Konate, Mo Salah, the right-backs, and a few other things. But he didn't really go in depth. And I'd love to know what Mo wanted to ask and what, wasn't brought up today. It did seem to be over quite quickly, considering the amount of topics that were talked about. That's not a dig at Arne Slot. That's not a dig at Liverpool. But, yeah, be interested to see if there's anything more comes up around that. But what did he say? Now, injury news is always your starting point. Let's have a listen what he said, and then we'll have a chat about a couple of other players as well.
Arne, first of all, can we check on the injury news? Alisson, Hugo Ekitike and Federico Chiesa.
Yeah, Alisson is not part of the squad tomorrow, and he's not going to travel to Brussels as well for the national team. So he will be out for Saturday.
Any idea on the timescale for Alisson, just how serious the hamstring injury is?
Yeah, that depends also on how fast a recovery goes. So it's clear that he's not there Saturday. It's clear that he's not going to play for Brazil, and I would be surprised if he would be there in the first game after the international break.
I don't know about you. It might just be me. Can anyone make out how he kind of injured that hamstring that about this time he just always seems to pull and be out for a while with? He kind of just saved it from it was obviously that bit. Do you remember when there was an error between Konate, Gravenberch, and he kind of got, but he just saves it and his hammy went. And now I saw a suggestion that he'd injured it before, but he was kind of moving okay, it seemed, but maybe I missed something around that. But timescale for Alisson, I mean, as Arne Slot says, you never know exactly, and they won't want to put an exact date on it. But there were suggestions where they could be looking at 6 weeks, couldn't they? And David Ornstein mentioned that, which would take you past the international break, past the United game, the first one back after the international break, but also encompass games like City as well at the same time. It's just Alisson's hammies. It's recurring now, isn't it? I don't think you can really avoid it or describe it in any other way. But he is out And now is the time for Marmadashvili to get his chance and prove what he's about, like Queven Kelleher got last season. Yeah, we will see. Trying to put a positive on it, though, for the injury update we got. Look at that. There's a bit of sexiness to that, isn't it? Arne confirms Hugo Ekitike and Federico Chiesa will train today ahead of the Chelsea game, which means if they're training, the minor niggle that kept Chiesa out of the Galatasaray trip, and maybe it just was cramp that Hugo Ekitike went off with, a bit like when Ibou went off against Arsenal, we feared the worst. Maybe it's just something in them French bones. Who knows? But that is a good sign. And it's a good sign, really, because I don't really care what anyone else would say. You can make an argument right now that this campaign, these are the two in-form attackers. I think Ekitike's been our best attacker. Chiesa, based on his minutes and his impact, you'd argue he deserves a start as well. So we're hopeful these two should be available, should be in the squad. So that was a bit of good team-related news as well. Positive with that one, absolutely. He was naturally asked about our form and said, I saw a team that wanted to try from the first until the last second to get a result. We won many more second balls against Galatasaray than at Palace. We were so close to a result. The margins are so small. The contrast between these, where the Palace first half was a disgrace. It was abysmal. We can say that. We should have been 3-0 down. The penalty is the full stop on the first half at Galatasaray, but we weren't that bad. I don't think there was too much in the game, to be honest. And in fact, you think of that one where Ekitike's through and you just take it with your left, that, Wirtz's half volley. It was a pretty even game, bar the penalty. So I think it's a little bit different, that for me. What I didn't like, and I know everyone will say second half against Palace, they'll look at it and go the result, but we were the better team in the second half. We created a lot of chances, as we know. In this one, Galatasaray, we threw everything at them subs-wise, but Isak had like 4 touches or whatever. Did we really create chances? Yeah, I'm not so sure about that based on the last form. Basically, there's a lot of work to do, as many people know. Now, we did get asked about set pieces, and there's a little bit of a prelude to this because I don't know if anyone's seen this Michael Reed tweet from a few days ago, but look at that. Liverpool conceded 4 goals from set pieces in 6 Premier League games this season. It wasn't until their 22nd league game last season that they conceded 4 set-piece goals. Not a good stat and not a good lean-in at all. Now, I'm only going to give you a bit of what he said about set-pieces. And my recommendation, as it always is, watch it, listen to yourself, etc. But he actually talked for a good few minutes about set-pieces. Let's just have a listen to this snippet now.
And this season we have had many good chances from set pieces as well. Unfortunately, didn't score yet.
Does that mean you've got to work harder at them now, or is it just luck?
What I just said, we've been very close to scoring set pieces this season already. Ibou, a big chance against Galatasaray and a big chance against Palace. So I'm very happy about the amount of chances we generate from set pieces. But we haven't scored yet. And yeah, is that luck, bad luck? At this moment of time, I would say we are a bit unlucky.
At this moment of time, I would say we are a bit unlucky, i.e. Aaron Briggs, work to do for you, mate. Because, did you have this expression when you were younger? I used to call it, like, where we're from, 50p head, 20p head. Sometimes I heard it called. When someone had the ball, but it went flying everywhere because they weren't a great header of the ball? That's how I would describe, personally, Ibou's heading right now. He's right. He should bury one against Galatasaray. He has a great chance against Palace. He should score that. There's been others this season where you're thinking, what are you doing, Ibou? So we should have more attacking set-piece goals in the column. but also we are giving them up. And you think back to Saturday. I mean, I know it's a penalty, set piece. You know, I still got my debates about whether Szoboszlai really touched him. That's a different debate. But we're looking a bit vulnerable from set pieces right now. And we're not scoring any set pieces either. That needs to change quickly, especially if you look at who you think are going to be our closest rivals right now. Arsenal, look at the difference between us and them on set pieces. It is literally night and day. It's something that Aaron Briggs, Arne Slot need to fix, and they need to fix it rapidly. We'll see what happens for this one on Saturday afternoon. And Anfield Review, they're saying, I think Konate should be dropped on Saturday. He has been truly dreadful in the last 2 games. Hard to debate that. And of course, we'll talk about who I think should be in the lineup as well. He did then go into players. So again, there was little bits without going massively into depth, because there was a lot of good questions. And this one was about, you know, you've got Frimpong, you've got Bradley, but you've been starting Szoboszlai as your right back. And he said, well, Conor Bradley and Jeremy Frimpong both have injuries. You can't play 3 games in a week. We have to adjust in that position. I'm not saying he's lying with that, but we've seen Szoboszlai start when these have been available. And I know you can say they're coming back from injuries. I think we all know this. It's about being able to progress the ball from the back. That is a massive concern for Liverpool at the moment. It's something they're not able to do. And you can see it in their patterns of play, the way it works. Ball progression is becoming an issue. And that's why Szoboszlai has been placed at right back. Even seen him in games almost a bit like the old player there, inverted somewhat as well. So, you know, and it can't half pick a pass, can he? But he's got to make a call on this right back situation and make it quickly. Now, we got a few stats about my favourite player, Mo Salah, the Egyptian king, the demigod, the icon. Listen to this for a question about Mo Salah, you know, referencing some stats and the answer that Arne Slot gave about it as well.
And just one on the form of Mo Salah. It's 5 goals in his last 20 competitive Liverpool appearances. I just wondered, by his very sky-high standards, do you think he's a little out of form at the moment?
I think also over there, I see the same as the second part of last season, where he scored 12 goals, 5 from a penalty, 1 from a set piece, so 6 open play goals. So he is part of a team that faces different opposition than the first half of last season.
To be honest, the last bit, I mean, different opposition, you know, the end of last season. Well, the end of last season didn't really count when we won the league, didn't we? And the running, I'm not too fussed about that. But 5 goals from Mo Salah in his last 20 competitive games. And I don't know exactly, maybe someone can tell me in the chat panel, but at least one of those against Burnley was a penalty, wasn't it, as well? It's a bit of system and it's a bit of the player for me at the moment. Mo Salah is definitively not firing as you'd want him to at all. However, part of the tactic last season was get the ball to Mo Salah and watch him go. And with the adjustments or the players coming in, the way we're going about it, you can see, as people have mentioned in all the metrics, everything's going down, isn't it? Even halved in some elements for Mo Salah in regards to touches of the ball, link-up play down the right-hand side, chances created, shot taken especially. So if you half those numbers, naturally the output is going to take a hit as well. I'm not blaming Mo Salah. I think there's a lot of things that go into it. It's never as simple as people want to suggest, but we've got to find a way of getting Mo Salah into the game more. For me, still the key player, still our most dangerous attacker that way. Just another thing for Arne Slot to sort, eh? And he was asked about Ibou Konate's form, and quite rightly. Now, what he said was, and part of this, last 2 games, it's been clear that we've made a few errors, not just him, that we're not used to. I think he's been horrific. I genuinely do. I think he's been so poor the last few games, and people will reference the contract, they'll reference the game. He's been good if you're an ardent Ibou defender, but the last few games, abysmal. And you think back to the Galatasaray game the other night where, he plays it and Gravenberg's literally got no other options. The attacker goes through and Alisson gets injured. He just looks, and I've seen people use this and I thought it was a bit strong, but I can sort of understand it in the last few games, the use of this expression all over the place. He's never been a great progressive player, but his passing seems to be unsure, and quite often he's just knocking it long to no one. You can argue again, what options has he got available? And that comes into the system. But even if he's not being progressive, you still think, okay, just be defensively solid then, and we'll work from that. But he's not providing that, is he, at the same time? And I've seen people in the chat panel, when they're, making their comments, Mr. 365 Boy says Robbo, VVD, Gomez, Bradley at the back for him. Anfield Review saying Konate head's gone. Maybe the truth is somewhere in between. Maybe it is one of those. I don't know. But in the short term, right now, there is a huge question mark around Ibou Konate. And I get what Slot said. He's not going to isolate any player or, sort of call them out in the current situation. But if he is going to play on Saturday, needs to wake up very fast. We'll see if he's in that lineup. And then the last bit that is worth bringing you, he was asked about Isak, and he was quite keen to almost talk about the minutes and the way he's introduced, and talked about the conversation he's had with Alexander Isak. I said to him, the difficult thing is you will have your appearances, but if you add the minutes together, it probably won't be more than 90 minutes. That's what we inherited from his situation at Newcastle. We knew this before, so it's not an excuse. The main thing is he has to adjust to his teammates, and they have to adjust to him. He had a great counter moment against Palace, but the midfield didn't see it. These are the things that they have to work on. But that's been harder than last season because of Alexander, Alexis, Connor, and playing Dom. Sort of rolled it all up into one there. But you've seen minutes. You've seen the goal against Southampton. You've seen, the shot, which you could just tell he wasn't quite fit there or quite at it against Galatasaray. Probably expected him to finish against Palace when, again, if he'd gone down, he probably would have got a penalty. So it's all just going to come with match practice and time. And Christoph there saying, thought he was training in Spain. Christoph, there's nothing for match practice, match time. You can train as much as you want, but it's on the field where you get into a rhythm and you get the confidence from. Yeah, didn't play any pre-season games, didn't he? So I think we've got to give Isak a bit of time. Patience is the one thing that seems to be in short supply for players right now. But it might just be needed. Well, there you go. Those were the main themes, the Q&As from the press conference. I won't spend long on this because none of you really want to revisit it. But in terms of the key lessons from Galatasaray, the only one I really want to call out is I think there was some nonsense talked about Florian Wirtz. In this game, Florian Wirtz made some of the best chances. Do you remember the ball over the top to Alexander Isak? Great ball, great vision. The one he slides through where Frimpong comes onto it in the first half as well on the break. Great pass. And then the one from the left, when he cuts in and crosses it, and Connor Bradley just closes his eyes almost instead of just heading it in the bottom corner. So I've got, for all the things that were wrong, and there were many things wrong on Tuesday night, Florian Wirtz was not what I was sort of focusing on. The double pivot as well. I mean, the double pivot seems to change every freaking game at the moment, doesn't it? Who it is. And against Galatasaray, Jones and Gravenberch. I think you saw that obviously they're great footballers individually, but the amount of times they just passed it slow, sideways. Neither is a particularly progressive player, are they? Curtis Jones is elite at ball retention and has his role higher up, without doubt. We know what Ryan Gravenberch brings, but for progressing it, I don't think they're really the players, aren't they? Yeah. And probably Mr. 365 Boy says it there. Almost a summary of the other night. Passing it 50 times across the back line is pointless. Playing a short ball to midfield, losing it or going long. Pretty much what happened on Tuesday. And something that we need to sort quickly. I'll be honest, people. Being a man of a certain vintage or age, there are questions that are flying through the chat panel. I'm struggling to answer them all and keep up with them, but we massively appreciate all the support. Although, to be fair, as someone said to me the other day, if you want all your questions answered, there's a thing called Super Chat, but I will try and answer as much as I can. Because Anfield Reviews asked there, do you feel we are really missing a fit Macca's influence? Dear Christ, baby Jesus, Moses, and all the orphans who need saving, yes. Fit Alexis McAllister is the best midfielder in this team. Best midfielder in the Premier League. The best midfielder we've got at linking it and progressing the ball. Christ, could we do with him fit and firing right now? But there you go. We won't spend too much longer on Galatasaray. In terms of Chelsea threats, they're an interesting side. I mean, they are 8th in the Premier League. And they did lose their last game, 3-1 at home to Brighton. As there was some will point out, Trevor Chalobah was sent off and he was suspended for this. But when you look at them, I mean, they get goals. 11 goals in 6 games. They've lost their last 2 in the Premier League, but they ship them, don't they, as well? 8 goals, although, again, someone's going to challenge me on this and say, well, 3 of those were against Brighton that way. So they do possess real threats. And that is with people, injuries as well. Enzo Maresca had his press conference earlier as well, where he said, Cole is still out, as in Cole Palmer. Chalobah suspended. We have 7 or 8 players out for tomorrow's game. And one of those being Tosin Adebayor. And if I go down, I mean, I won't pretend I know all the Chelsea squad, but suggestions from Chelsea fans that Palmer, Colwell, Chalobah, Fofana, Tosin, Santos, and others are out. And centre-backs seems to be the key position, doesn't it? And yet, despite all that, what's really funny, probably got more options still than us, because Benoit Badiashile was back. He was one of the bomb squad, wasn't he? But he played in midweek and he was getting some praise during this press conference as well. We've got Hato who can play that. You know, they have options. They have a squad unlike anyone else, Chelsea, as we know. So let's not, well, obviously we despise them anyway, but let's not feel sorry for them at all. So when we talk about threats, don't just be thinking there's no options there and there's a massive gaping hole in the middle. They've got some good players, whatever you think. Enzo, Moises Caicedo can hurt us in different ways. Neto, that is a tough ask for any fullback. Gittins is rapid. João Pedro, not quite on the boil right now, but can still score goals. And Estevao just looks a little gem, doesn't he? To be honest. Now, they needed an own goal, I think it went down as, against Benfica. And people will look at this and go, oh, they've lost their last 2, they shipped goals, etc., etc. But, as we said there, Chelsea have got real threats. This is odds on to be a very difficult game, especially with our systemic issues, the lack of confidence and all that. Not going to be an easy one at all. And the final thing we predict, as ever, is the lineup, score, and scorers. So, I mean, it's going to be Mamardashvili in nets, isn't it? We know that. Certain things are easy to pick. Virgil van Dijk will captain the side. It's a little bit more difficult from there in the back line than it normally proves to be. But here's where I think he will go. I think it will be Connor Bradley at right back. He needs to make a decision on the right back. If he doesn't trust Bradley or Frimpong, that's going to become clear quickly. And it might be Dominic Szoboszlai, but, you know, the message and everything that sends to the squad, if you keep doing that, I know you're not getting the best of Szoboszlai's legs, his engine, his attributes in the middle. So I would go Connor Bradley right back. Personally, I think he will go with Ibou. I think he'll stick with him, but I would actually put Joe Gomez in there in terms of not a better defender than Ibou, although at the moment that's debatable. But in terms of his ability to progress, that doesn't mean he's a progressive monster or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But he is slightly better than Ibou, although people will reference the Carabao and other games. I understand that. But if Konate's not going to get dropped now, is he ever going to get dropped? And for the record, I would love him to ram these words back down my throat and play an absolute stunning game tomorrow, just not maybe go on social media about it if he does. And on the left, Milos Kerkez is head and shoulders above a Liverpool legend right this minute. Andy Robertson is a left back right this minute, with his attributes like his pace, the ability to shut down threat and everything he can do. But we're not allowing Milos Kerkez to do anything that everyone assumed we bought him for. We're not allowing him to be that road runner. We're not allowing him to get crosses into the box, which he was absolutely deadly at. And he did progress the ball for Bournemouth that way quite often. But we seem to have him attached to Virgil van Dijk's hip. So if the plan is like to stay like this, I can understand the call for Robbo to be left back. And there's a great little thread that Sam Maguire's posted about this, where, in terms of passing and body positioning and different bits for Kerkez, actually it is a bit behind Robbo. Overall, I think he's a better player. I'm not sure there's too much doubt about that. We adore Andy Robertson. He's a Liverpool legend, but the best days are well gone. We're in the final year. But if it is going to be what it is at the moment and the style and what we're asking Kerkez to do, I could understand if Robbo starts ahead of him in this. And Christoph there saying, you want stability and experience. Just an idea. If we want to progress it more, let Milos Kerkez go on occasion. We'll see. In midfield, here's what I would do. Like the Everton first half, tried and trusted. Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister. That would be my starting midfield three. Get the old band back together. The thing about at the moment is, we know Wirtz has been bought to play 10. We've heard Arne Slot say it, talk about it. We've heard, Florian Wirtz has said it in interviews. Again, there's two options, isn't it? Work through it and learn, and adapt quickly, and we've got to get used to it. Or an element of either admit it's not his best position, it's not the best thing for the team, and make an adjustment. One of those two things has got to happen, and got to happen quickly. Again, for me, he would be on the left. It would be McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch in there, like at Everton, tried and trusted. We'll see if this is named. This is, I tell you, nothing's quite as easy as you want it to be at the moment. It's great news that Ekitike is back in training and Chiesa. I think Isak will start this one. Just because of Ekitike's situation, otherwise he would start. Mo Salah is, of course, going to be on the right-hand side. And I would personally go Florian Wirtz from the left on a couple of bases that Gakpo is offering nothing right now. Chiesa probably deserves a shout, but mine a niggle and everything like that. And you saw Wirtz's best moments come from the left, didn't you, in this one? So he would be the player that I would go for from the left. Nothing would surprise me too much on this. And Lord of Mercy's there, but we've tried Maka. He's just coming back from injury with no pre-season, not sharp and out of form. And I get that. I never said he was. But the only way you're going to get him back into form is by playing him. Where you're going to just leave him out for a period and then he just snaps back into form. It doesn't work that way. Also, one of the players like Isak, like Salah, who was on the bench the other night. So I would kind of lean towards they're playing this way. There's my lineup. What is the prediction for score and scorers? Christ, just freaking win. Honestly, just win. If you just win, you go into the international break on, I'm not saying on a high, but a bit of relief and like, right, okay, we've moved past this. We've had our defeats. On we go. Maybe this is the heart talking more than the head, but I am leaning towards a 2-1 win. And I'm leaning towards a 2-1 win with Isak and Mo Salah on the score sheet. I'd say I'd like us to play better, but it's not really hard than what we've seen recently. But it does feel one of those, especially in the way everything's building, just win. I'd take a scrappy 1-0, I'd take a scrappy 2-1 all day long. Because if you lose 3 in a week, people sometimes say crisis is too strong. But if we're going to go for the biggest prizes, 3 in a week is at best major questions. And people will bring the C word into it. Draws kind of, because Arsenal are going to beat West Ham, of course. So you go level on points with them. But a win just changes the feel of the whole month. And actually, if you win, you end the month thinking, okay, we had some really tough games there, away at Palace, away at Chelsea, and we're still top. Feels huge tomorrow. I think it's okay to say that. The result will define it all. Because I don't think many are expecting us to play brilliantly based on what we've seen. There may be struggle at times, progressing, all sorts of things that we mentioned recently. But a win just leads to a different feeling, doesn't it? Maybe it's the heart over the head. 2-1, Salah and Isak to be on the score sheet. We will see what tomorrow, 5:30, Stamford Bridge brings. Good luck to all the travelling cop going down there. Hope you make all your planes, trains, automobiles, connections back. Nervous for this one. But on Friday, the 3rd of October, ahead of a Saturday kickoff, that was another post-conference presser for Anfield Index.